The Emperor's Handbook, Book 10. 1. Is it possible that one day I shall see you, O my soul, good, simple, indivisible, stripped of every pretense, more solid than the flesh that now covers you? Will you ever know a day of unclouded love and tenderness? Will you ever be content? No hopes, no regrets, needing nothing, desiring nothing, animate or inanimate, not even for a moment's pleasure, nor wanting a little more time to prolong the ecstasy, or a more pleasing room or view or climate, or more sweet accord in your relations with others? When will you be content with your present condition, happy with all you have, accepting it as a gift from the gods, and acknowledging that all is well with you and that all will be well? When will you understand that the gods hold dear those gifts, the good, the just, the beautiful, that they intend for the preservation of a perfect, living whole? Gifts that nourish the universe by gathering and binding the primal elements, dispersed by dissolution and decay, and needed for each new creation. Will there ever come a day, O my soul, when you can live in the company of men and gods, blameless in their eyes, without blaming them at all? 2. Since you are governed by inanimate nature, pay attention to what it is telling you and act upon it, unless your animal nature objects. In that case, obey your animal nature without hesitation, unless it is contradicted in turn by reason. The dictates of reason, of course, also cover the norms of society. Apply these rules to your life and get on with it. 3. Whatever happens, either you have the strength to bear it or you don't. If you have the strength, stop complaining, be grateful, and bear it. If you lack the strength, there is still no reason to lose patience, for once your strength is consumed, the struggle will end. But remember, you have the power within you to endure anything. For your mere opinion can render it tolerable, perhaps even acceptable, by regarding it as an opportunity for enlightenment or a matter of duty. 4. If someone makes a mistake, correct him with kindness and point out where he went wrong. If you fail, blame only yourself, or better yet, don't blame anyone. 5. Whatever happens to you was destined to happen from before time began. Your entire existence, as well as the smallest details of your works and days, were woven into the woof of cause, the weft of effect from all eternity. 6. Whether the universe is composed of an infinite number of blind atoms, or one all-seeing nature, two things are clear. First, I am a part of the universe governed by nature, and second, I am related in some way to the other parts, like myself. Once I acknowledge this, I shall be content with any role the universe assigns me, for nothing is bad for the part that is good for the whole, and the whole contains nothing which is not good for it. This is true for everything in nature, but the world has an additional safeguard. Nothing from outside can interfere or force it to generate something harmful to itself. Realizing that I am part of just such a universe, I will calmly accept whatever happens. And because I am related to the other parts like myself, I will not seek my own advantage at their expense, but I will study to know what is our common good and bend every effort to advance that good and to dissuade others from acting against it. If I am successful in this, my life is bound to flow smoothly, as one would expect for the dutiful citizen who is always looking out for others and enjoys whatever work his community asks of him. 7. It is necessary for everything in the universe to perish, which is the same as saying that all parts of the whole must change. Now, if the atrophy and extinction of its parts are unintended, it is difficult to see how the whole universe can escape deterioration and eventual death. Has nature chosen to damage its own parts by making them susceptible to harm and bent on harming one another? Or did this happen without nature's knowledge and participation? Neither of these possibilities seems likely. Or suppose we leave a purposeful nature out of it and say that this is just the way things are. How absurd it then is in one breath to say that everything in the universe is bound to change, and in the next breath to express shock or resentment at a particular change, as though it were a violation of some moral or physical law, especially in light of the fact that each part tends to return to the primal elements from which it originated. Consider this protean process. Either the atoms making up the parts are dispersed, or what is solid returns to earth, and what is gas rejoins the air in such a way that these elements re-enter the womb of being, which is either periodically consumed by fire or continually renewed by the return of its offspring. If you ascribe to the second theory, it would be a mistake to assume that your solid and gaseous parts date from birth. They are no older than the food you ate and the air you breathed yesterday or the day before. All of this change, therefore, works upon a part, or, if you will, a person who is in a continual state of flux, constantly being recreated, and no longer the same baby his mother once bore. Nor do I see any contradiction in the fact that we identify this metamorphosing part or person as one and the same over time. 8. When you allow others to call you good, modest, sincere, open-minded, fair-minded, high-minded, be sure that you don't disappoint them, or if you do, be quick to restore these virtues to their eyes. Remember that the open-minded attend meticulously to details and work through problems without being distracted. That the fair-minded accept gladly the conditions that nature imposes. That the high-minded place reason above the storms and doldrums of the flesh, that is, above fame, death, and the like. In fact, if you can learn to embody these virtues rather than just to wear them for appearance's sake, you will be a new man, and you will begin to live a new life. To continue in your old life, perpetually distracted by something or disgruntled with someone, shows no more intelligence and courage than gladiators who, half devoured by wild beasts, their bodies gaping with wounds and drenched in gore, beg to be kept alive for one more day, when all they have to look forward to is facing again the same claws and fangs. Cast off with these new faithful friends, and know that if you sail in close company with them, they will surely bring you to the Isles of the Blessed. But if you find yourself unable to keep up, and falling behind, be a man, and make a decent life in some quiet corner of the world. Or failing that, take leave of this life altogether, not in a foul temper, but simply, freely, honorably, having succeeded at least in making a brave end. This afterthought, lest you become distracted with the titles others give you and the noble attributes they ascribe to you, you should bear in mind that the gods themselves are not interested in this sort of flattery. They desire instead for all rational beings to imitate their attributes for the purpose of becoming like them, just as the fig tree does the work of a fig tree, the dog the work of a dog, the bee the work of a bee, and man the work of a man. 9. Hysteria, combat, terror, lethargy, servility, the stuff of daily existence. These attenuate the sacred principles which, unless rooted deep in a reflective life, are easily discarded. Let this be your goal, in all things to act with dispatch, while making thorough observations, taking into consideration any relevant theories, and preserving your knowledge of the most minute and concrete details. When will you learn to seek your happiness in the simple things, in dignity, in the knowledge of what is at the heart of each thing, its place in the world, its length of days, its composition, to whom it belongs, and whose it is to give or take away? 10. A spider glories in trapping a fly. So does one man in catching a hare, another in netting a sardine, another boars or bears or some Martians. Examine their principles. Are they not all thieves and cutthroats? 11. Develop your own methods for observing how all things are in a continual state of change, one into another. Be ready and welcome it when it is your turn to experience change, for there is nothing like it to heighten your sensibilities and elevate your mind. At the moment of change, a person's soul takes flight, and being in this instant reminded that they will soon be called upon to leave the world of things and the company of men, they devote themselves wholeheartedly to justice in whatever they do, and to nature in whatever is done to them. Their mind is no longer troubled by what someone may say or think about, or do against them. And they find perfect contentment in these two things only: to do the task at hand justly, and to embrace their fate gladly. Throwing off all other considerations and schemes, their one ambition is to run the straight race marked out by the law in pursuit of the swift-footed gods, who never leave this sure course. 12. Why do you hesitate or second-guess yourself when you know perfectly well what ought to be done? If you know where you need to go, make a considerate but determined effort to get there. If you don't, wait and seek the best advice you can find. If you meet with resistance along the way, advance cautiously and prepare at any moment to take refuge in what you know to be just. For to reach your goal justly is the apotheosis of achievement, whereas to advance even 1 inch by doing an injustice is the most miserable form of failure. Relaxed but alert, cheerful but determined, such is reason's faithful follower. 13. From the moment you wake up, ask yourself, does it really matter if someone criticizes my correct and just acts? Not at all. How can you forget how those who take pride in praising and blaming others behave in bed and at table? What they pursue, what they flee, what they lust after, what they reveal, what they snatch and make away with, not with their hands and feet, but with the noblest part of themselves, the very part from which springs, if they will it, faith, honor, truth, loyalty, and a good spirit. 14. To nature, the giver and taker of all things, the wise and self-respecting man says, give what it is your pleasure to give. Take what you will. This he says not in a tone of swaggering machismo, but in an attentive and obedient voice. 15. What remains of life is short. Live it, as if on craggy mountain heights, for what does it matter where one lives? Whether in a city or in the wilderness, you are a citizen of the world. Let men behold in you a true man, one who lives in harmony with nature. If they can't bear it, let them put you to death. Better to die than to live like them. 16. Stop all this theorizing about what a good man should be. Be it. 17. Strive continually to imagine time eternal and space infinite. Then tell yourself that a planet in space is but a fig seed, an era in time like the twist of a tendril. 18. Focus on any material object. See how it is changing before your eyes, dissolving, decaying, dissipating, and in what way it is born to die. 19. Eating, sleeping, copulating, defecating, just look at them. See what airs they put on, becoming puffed up, or lapsing into fits of rage, overwhelming us with their high-sounding reproaches. It wasn't long ago they were toadies, sucking up to some boss, and it won't be long before they're groveling again. 20. What nature gives is best, and best too at the time it is given. 21. The earth loves rain, and holy ether too. Yes, how nature loves to create whatever is to be. To this nature I profess, I share your love. Is this not what we mean when we say love will find a way? 22. Either you go on living here at the center of things, or you withdraw from the active life and move away, or you die and your work is done. There's no other choice but these, so take heart. 23. Bear in mind that your hermitage goes wherever you go. The good life is the same here as it is in the mountains or by the sea. It is, as Plato said, sheltered in this mountain fold, milking his bleeding flocks. 24. What is this governing self I'm supposed to have? Of what use is it? Is it serving some purpose at this moment? Can it reason? Is it severed from society and incapable of forming human attachments? Has it so melted into my flesh and melded with my body that it is no longer free? 25. The slave who flees his master is a runaway. The law, too, is a master, and whoever breaks it is in the same position as the runaway slave. Likewise, those who become irritable, angry, or afraid because something has already happened, is just happening, or is about to happen, are, in effect, refusing to accept the natural and causal laws of the universe. In giving way to irritation, anger, or fear, they are no better than runaway slaves. 26. A man ejaculates into a womb and goes about his business, and sometime later a new cause discovers his sperm, works on it, and produces a fully formed baby. What an astonishing sequence of events! Later, this baby begins to swallow food that disappears down its throat, where another cause takes over to produce sensation and emotion. In a word, life and vital energy in all its forms. Contemplate these mysteries and observe their hidden power, which can be seen just as clearly as the uplifting and down-pressing force of gravity, although not with the eyes. 27. Keep in mind that what goes on today went on yesterday, and will go on again tomorrow. From your own experience or from your reading of history, you have taken in the same shows, watched the very same scenes staged by the court of Hadrian, the court of Antoninus, and the courts of Philip, Alexander, Croesus. Same shows, same scenes, same parts. Only the names of the actors change. 28. The next time you hear someone bemoaning his fate or complaining about something, visualize the pig at a sacrifice, squealing and kicking. It's the same with the person who lies upon his lonely bed, lamenting his pains or cursing his constraints in silence. Only the rational being can embrace his fate and follow the course of events willingly. Those who howl and whine can merely follow. 29. Every time you do something, stop and ask yourself, is death to be feared because it will deprive me of this? 30. Whenever you are about to find fault with someone, ask yourself the following question. What fault of mine most nearly resembles the one I am about to criticize? Is it love of money, or pleasure, or reputation? And so on, until you have identified the closest cousin. By redirecting your attention in this way, you will soon forget your anger, as you realize that he can't help himself any more than you can. How can he possibly overcome the compulsion to do wrong? If you can help him with this, you have helped yourself as well. 31. When you look at yourself, think of one of the Caesars of old, and similarly with everyone, make this substitution and ask yourself, where are they all now? Nowhere. Or nobody knows where. This habit will help you see things human as smoke and nothingness, especially if you remember that once a thing changes, it ceases to exist for all eternity. Why then get all wound up? Why not be content to pass your short time here in an orderly way? What material condition or station in life can you possibly be afraid of, since everything gives you an opportunity to exercise your reason in making an accurate and philosophical assessment of life. Persevere then, until you have learned everything life has to teach you, the way a healthy stomach digests all sorts of food, and a roaring fire converts whatever is heaped on it to heat and light. 32. Let no one be able to say truthfully that you are not honest or good. If someone says this, you have the power to make him a liar. Who prevents you from being honest and good? You need only resolve the end of your life if you cannot be such a man, for in this case, not even reason obliges you to go on living. 33. What is the very best you can say or do with the material you have to work with? Whatever that is, you can say or do it. Make no excuse by claiming that something prevents you. You will never stop bemoaning your fate until it becomes as natural for you to follow the law of your being in whatever material conditions you find yourself, as it is for a hedonist to go after pleasure. Indeed, every opportunity to speak or act according to the law of your being should give you pleasure, and that opportunity exists everywhere. A cylinder is not free to roll at will, nor is fire or water or anything else that is governed by nature peculiar to souls without reason. Many hindrances and obstacles stand in their way. Intelligence and reason, on the other hand, possess both the nature and the will to surmount obstacles in their path. See how reason overcomes whatever hinders it with the ease of fire rising, or stone dropping, or a cylinder rolling down a slope. Look no further than this. The remaining obstacles either act upon the body, an inanimate object, or they are powerless to defeat or do harm unless the mind yield to a false impression or surrender its own reason. Were this not so, these obstacles would have the effect of making a man bad. We observe the proof of this in nature. Whenever anything is hindered, its condition deteriorates and becomes worse, whereas a man actually becomes better and more praiseworthy when he overcomes what hinders him through the use of reason. In summary, remember that whatever does not hurt the man who is by nature a citizen does not hurt the city, nor is the city hurt by what does not hurt the law. Now, not one of all the things a man is apt to call bad luck hurts the law. Therefore, bad luck cannot hurt the city, or the citizen either. 34. For the man who feels the bite of truth, even the most succinct and commonplace saying helps guard him against grief and fear. This, for example: the generations of men, leaves the wind scatters over the face of the earth. Your children are tender leaves as well. Leaves too are the crowd that want you to hear their shouts of praise, or that curses you openly, or blames and scoffs behind your back. Leaves, likewise, are those on whom the memory of your fame rests. For all of these blossom in the springtime, and are soon blown away by the autumn winds, and the forest replaces them all. A short life characterizes everything, yet you pursue or shun these things as if they held the secret of life everlasting. A little while and you will close your eyes, and not long after, someone else will mourn the one who bore you to the grave. 35. The healthy eye sees whatever is visible and does not say, "I want only to see what is green." Having a healthy sense of hearing and smell means being alert to every sound and scent. The healthy stomach can digest all kinds of food, like the molar that is prepared to grind whatever we put in our mouths. Just so, the healthy mind should be prepared for whatever happens. The mind protesting, "Keep my children from dying," and "May all men praise every little thing I do," is an eye looking only for what is green, and a tooth wanting only what is easy to chew. 36. No one is possessed of such good fortune that he can lie dying without being circled by people rejoicing at his imminent demise. Was he high-minded and wise? Then you can be sure that someone will be muttering to himself, "Now we can breathe easy again with that schoolmaster out of the way. Although he was never harsh with any of us, I always felt he was silently judging us." So much for the virtuous man's reward. As for the rest of us, think of all the good reasons we have given our friends to be happy to be rid of us. Think of this at the approach of death, and ease your passing with these reflections. In the life I am leaving behind, even the friends for whom I toiled and prayed and agonized so much wanted me out of the way, hoping by my death to gain some sort of relief. Why then should you wish to lengthen your stay? But do not because of this leave any less well disposed to them. Be true to your best self, friendly, good-natured, and kind. Leave them not as a man being torn away, but die a peaceful death, with the soul slipping easily from the body. Nature brought you together and tied you to them, and now she cuts the knot. I am separated as from kinsmen. I am not dragged away, and I do not resist. It is just another natural act. 37. In everything you see someone else do, make it a habit to ask yourself, what is his purpose in doing this? But begin with yourself. Question your own actions first. 38. Remember, what pulls the strings is a power hidden deep within you. It is what moves you. It is life. It is, one might even say, the man himself. Never make the mistake of picturing it with the fleshy shell encasing it, or the organs attached to it. These are like a carpenter's tools, except that they are joined to the body by nature. Without the inner power that moves or stays these parts, they are as useless as a weaver's shuttle, a writer's pen, or a charioteer's whip.